Oh, I guess I'm recording. Oh, hey guys. So I'm trying out my Mac for the very first time as far as recording goes. So this may be a little rocky. We're just trying to see if it works and what we're working with here. Um, yeah. So today I want to talk about um, coping mechanisms. Well, not really coping mechanisms. I guess things that I do to distract myself from periods of anxiety, periods of depression. But I feel like it's really relevant right now because so many people out there in the world are self isolating, they are social distancing. I mean, think about it. What is there available to do this weekend? And so I guess so we don't all go stir crazy. I wanted to take some time to talk about some recommendations, things that I like to do. And today we're going to start with some book recommendations. Um, Book recommendations that I specifically focus on um, during periods of anxiety or depression. Definitely have a whole bookshelf over here of other things, but these are kind of some of the highlights. So first of all, for those of you that know me, you know that my all-time favorite, Harry Potter. I've had the copy of this book since the second grade. Um, I mean, you can see there's basically no spine. Half of the back is missing. You couldn't even read the whole about information if you wanted to. The back corner's torn apart. Harry Potter has always been. I just knocked over my stack of books. Sorry, guys. Harry Potter has always been something pretty constant in my life. I think what's so important about Harry Potter and another series I want to talk about today is that it has elements of reality, but it takes you into another world, something quite different that we don't get to experience here in the real world, and you can kind of put yourself into another place in time, into another reality, and kind of forget all the craziness that's happening. Um, Along those same lines, another fantasy series that I would definitely recommend would be the Mortal Instruments, part of the Shadow Hunters. This is the first one, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. The great news about this series is, unlike Harry Potter, this series has not ended. Cassie is still writing frequently. She just put out a book a couple of weeks ago. There are more books in the works on the way. So that is something that is definitely not going somewhere anytime soon. So there's lots of material to be had. I have like a zillion of her books on the shelf over here. So lots of material if you have lots of time on your hands and want to start a new series. Definitely recommend. Some of the other ones that I have here are in a category, I guess, that can be kind of broken down into two parts. So the next books I want to talk about are polar opposite of fantasy. They are very much realistic fiction, and they are books written from the perspective of someone who suffers from a mental illness. So the first one is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. You may recognize John Green because he did, in fact, write The Fault in Our Stars. He wrote Paper Towns, Looking for Alaska. Great, great author. Highly recommend any of his books. John Green's book, though, Turtles All the Way Down, is one of the very, very first books that I have read, and maybe the only one at this point, that is fictitious, that I truly relate to the main character's struggles. I feel like the main character was accurately represented. And by that I mean I feel like the struggles that the main character presented with the mental illness involved were very, very realistic and on point and very true to form. And it's really hard to find that balance of making sure that you're presenting the mental illness correctly. So again, John Green, Turtles All the Way Down. Another one, Perks of Being a Wallflower. All right, so Perks of Being a Wallflower is an excellent book. Someone in high school that I was really good friends with introduced me to this book. It's also a movie now. Um, excellent book. It, again, really spot on hits the aspects of someone suffering with a mental illness, but this one is kind of from a different perspective, a different format than your typical book. So again, Perks of Being a Wallflower, definitely recommend. The next book has also been turned into a movie, and the author wrote the story based on his own experiences in a mental hospital, checking himself into a mental institution. It's kind of a funny story. Excellent book. It again, it's been turned into a movie as well, but this book focuses on the main character's stay in a mental ward and kind of talks about his experiences there. All right, so spinning briefly from that to the next topic are books that address mental health, much like the ones we've just discussed, but these are nonfiction books written by people who are advocates or who have been advocates for the mental health world. So, first of all, I want to talk about a couple of books written by Carrie Fisher. So Carrie Fisher is very near and dear to my heart. I love Star Wars, thanks to my dad, and Princess Leia was always my hero. But Carrie Fisher was even more of a hero to me than she was, than Princess Leia herself was, than her character, you know? Carrie Fisher lived with bipolar disorder and was very public and very open and honest about her experience, and very much wanted to fight the stigma that came along with mental illnesses. And I greatly admired her. I still do. And I miss having her presence in the world as someone who experiences bipolar disorder and actively advocates for the rest of us who are dealing with that same illness. She's written several books. One that I would recommend would be Wishful Drinking. We've got that right here. This was one of her earlier books, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, so this was published back in 2008. So it was one of her earlier writings. Definitely very good. You can see she's got her little Princess Leia on here at the bottom. So definitely would recommend this. And this actually is, I believe, the last book that she wrote before she passed, called The Princess Diaries. And again, featuring her as Princess Leia on the front. You can see here that she was the author of Wishful Drinking, so very successful book. This was the first book I read by Carrie Fisher. I believe that I purchased it for my birthday after she had passed away. So she passed away in December, and my birthday's in January. So I purchased this for myself. It had just come out, and I read it, and I was blown away. Absolutely amazing. So I instantly got in my car and drove to the closest bookstore to pick up Wishful Drinking and dive into that as well. It's just very open, very honest. I mean, this one does focus a lot on her years in Star Wars, but you don't have to be a Star Wars fan to appreciate the work, for sure. So there's my little ode to Carrie Fisher. I love her. The last book I want to talk about is a book written by the founder of To Write Love on Her Arms, Jamie Tworkowski. So he wrote a book a few years back. And this book covers a series of his writings from basically the time that he started on his journey into the mental health world, into the advocacy world, all the way through when he published the book. The book is like a series of his writings over that period of time. So it's kind of like a compilation of things that he's written over the past few years. And it touches on a lot of different subjects. And it's just raw, it's honest, it's open and refreshing. And if you haven't heard of him before, I highly recommend looking him up. If you haven't heard of To Write Love on Her Arms, I highly recommend you checking them out. But here's the copy of that book. It is called If You Feel Too Much, Thoughts on Things Found and Lost and Hoped For. Yeah, Jamie Tworkowski, amazing writer. He's on Twitter. He's on other social media platforms as well. But Twitter, he posts a lot of good content. He also does some Q&As occasionally. And he still works with his foundation. He's working on another book. He still interacts with those people who are out here supporting his movement. And so that is definitely another source of someone who you could reach out, well, not reach out to necessarily, but like someone who is still actively interacting, actively giving us more material, kind of like Cassandra Clare with the Shadowhunters novels. We know there's still going to be more. Jamie's still out here working and writing on his book and on social media and interacting. So that's really all I have today. Mainly just wanted to figure out this Mac situation. Yeah, so these are definitely some book recommendations for all of you guys who get bored out there during self-quarantine. Let me know if you've read any of these before and what your thoughts are. If you haven't and you check them out, let me know what you think. And definitely drop me some recommendations in the comments. Alright guys, I'm out of here. See you all soon. Thank you all for joining me. Bye.